His Eminence in Shadow, Lord Shadow, known in this life as Cid Kagenou, surveyed his new, temporary base of operations. He had figured he would intrude upon the apartment of a man named Tanaka for the time being. After a quick inspection of the kitchen, he confirmed with a disappointed sigh that, as expected, all the food had long since rotted. It would have been nice to find some edible provisions, he mused. He had already changed out of his signature slime bodysuit, as it would certainly make him stand out, and into a simple hoodie and pants. With no food to be found, he supposed he would just have to look for information. He needed to understand just what exactly had happened to this world, his former world. Opening a closet door, he was met with a grim sight. His eyes widened slightly. These bones, could it be? Kneeling down, he picked up the skull. Could these be Tanaka's remains? It seemed the poor fellow had been dead for many years. Cid wondered what could have possibly put him in such a terrible state in the first place. Examining a femur, he noticed something profound. Tooth marks. They were too big to be from normal cats or dogs, yet too small to be from lions or bears. A true mystery. He stood, gazing out the shattered window at the desolate city. Whatever it was, it must have put Tanaka through quite a lot of pain before he died. A truly tragic end for a background character. Just then, Beta's voice called out, interrupting his somber reflection. She asked permission to change into some clothes she had found in the bedroom, noting their similarity to his slime suit. Bursting out with excitement, she modeled her find, a one-piece school swimsuit. "Look," she exclaimed, "the elasticity is outstanding. The material also allows for perfect functionality and mobility." Beta was truly impressed. This Japan world must have been quite interesting. Ah, Cid thought, then calmly informed her that what she was wearing was what people used to call a school swimsuit. He then professionally critiqued its practical use. It had no insulation and was not considered normal clothing by the people of this land. He instructed her to change into something else. Beta, ever obedient, agreed. Moments later, she returned, posing dramatically in a new ensemble. How about this one? It was a bunny girl outfit. She proudly pointed out that the cloth was thicker than the previous outfit, and it even came with ear warmers, which would provide perfect protection against the cold. Cid, holding Tanaka's skull with a look of weary understanding, knew exactly why Tanaka would have hidden such an outfit under his bed. Beta cheerfully added that she had found this one right next to the swimsuit. He patiently explained to a confused Beta that this was called a bunny girl outfit. It was far too vulgar, and she should find something else. Undeterred, Beta presented her third option with even more flair. What about this one? She was now in a dominatrix outfit, complete with a whip and mask. She was certain this Tanaka-san must have been a warrior like them, one who wished to hide their identity in battle. Cid's expression was one of profound resignation. Of course, Beta chirped, she had also found this outfit under the bed. Tanaka-san, he thought, addressing the skull in his hands, you were a man of true culture. Beta was confused by his rejection of such fine battle attire. Cid had to explain that this was a dominatrix outfit, used only for a very particular activity, and it provided no physical protection whatsoever. She asked about the whip then. Well, Cid elaborated, it was meant as a training tool for worthless pigs who, for some reason, enjoyed being whipped. Beta marveled at the peculiar nature of Earth's pigs. She was deeply impressed that Lord Shadow, having only just arrived, already knew so much about this world. Cid nonchalantly replied that he had merely analyzed the visual information around them. Beta, completely sold on her warrior cosplay interpretation, decided that since she had already put it on, she might as well go with it. Cid, however, was having none of it. After investigating the apartment of the deceased Tanaka, the only conclusion Cid could draw was that Tanaka was a man of culture as well. He firmly instructed Beta to please find something less exposing to wear, much to her disappointment. They left the apartment building and walked through the silent, decaying streets. At last, Beta emerged in a sensible yet stylish sweater and hat. She immediately pointed to the towering utility poles, asking Lord Shadow what he thought the purpose of these concrete pillars could be. Cid, drawing upon his past life's common knowledge, explained with authority that they were for supplying electricity. This world, he elaborated, once made use of electricity in everyday life. And, he continued, gesturing with a knowing look, judging from the evidence, the black lines connecting the pillars were used to transport that electricity. Beta was in awe. As she thought, this world once had a civilization far more advanced than theirs. If only they could get this knowledge back to their world, they could use it to improve the Shadow Garden. Cid internally noted that Beta was immersing herself in sightseeing. For his part, Cid was reveling in the moment. This adventure provided a perfect opportunity to explain this strange world to her. He, the Eminence in shadow, dispensing extensive knowledge of a mysterious lost civilization. God, he was so cool. But then Beta, being the genius she was, posed a difficult question. Wouldn't it have been more efficient for them to bury the black lines underground? Cid froze. He didn't know how to explain that. Beta continued her astute analysis, pointing out that the lines kind of ruined the urban scenery, and the pillars would likely fall in an earthquake. Well, Cid stammered internally, flustered. He quickly regained his composure. Of course, the people of Japan thought having them like this was nicer to look at, you see. Their sense of aesthetics must have been different from ours. Beta accepted this profound insight without a second thought. As they walked, a weathered newspaper rustled at Beta's feet. She picked it up. "Another thing I've noticed," she began. "The symbols of this world, they're rather similar to some of the symbols you used in your cipher, Lord Shadow." Cid's blood ran cold. His mind raced. Now that she mentioned it, the cipher he gave her was written in English and Japanese. If Beta somehow understood the language of this world, this could be bad. She and the others would realize this was actually the homeworld of the Eminence in shadow, They would know he wasn't some ancient, all-knowing being, but just some guy using his old-world knowledge to grandstand. His entire act would be exposed. He couldn't afford to relax anymore. He had to find a way to get them both back before she could learn the Japanese language. The sheer panic caused him to start shaking and sweating profusely. Beta, noticing his distress, asked what was wrong. Cid's mind, however, was occupied with the terrifying reality that he was just a guy who jumped into a mysterious hole because it looked cool, and now he had no idea how to get back. He quickly invented a cover story. "Don't worry," he said, trying to sound cool. He was merely regulating his body temperature. Beta pointed out that he was shaking non-stop. He doubled down. "Don't worry," he repeated. He was just trying to see if he could produce sonic waves by shaking his body. Ah, so that's why. Beta was once again thoroughly impressed by his constant, incomprehensible training. Calm down, Cid told himself internally. All he needed to do was find another black hole, and it would take them back to their world. Easy peasy. Beta, meanwhile, still pondered their surroundings. What could have brought this Japan, with all its advanced technology, to such desolation? She observed a broken traffic light, reasoning that this didn't seem like the aftermath of a simple drought or flood. Natural disasters alone couldn't have brought such a civilization to ruins. "Indeed," replied, affecting a thoughtful gaze. He had a rough guess as to what happened. Beta was astounded. He'd already deduced the cause of their destruction? Cid confirmed, looking cool and mysterious. He gazed off at the ruined cityscape, explaining that while he couldn't be entirely certain yet, the cause seemed to have something to do with the magic drifting in the air. His mind flashed back to the moment of his death in this world. As far as he knew, the only time one could see magic here was in the form of the two headlights that bore down on him. And yet, something that had to do with magic had clearly happened to Japan. The newspaper in Beta's hand told the tale. Japan destroyed. The country, he concluded sagely, could not withstand such drastic changes, and thus it perished. As they walked, Cid stepped in a puddle. He spotted a river flowing through the cracked concrete. Perfect. They could stock up on water. He'd had the foresight to borrow some empty bottles from Tanaka's place in anticipation of this. He began filling a bottle, explaining that since this was an uninhabited ruin, the water should be pure enough for them to drink. It might not be perfectly clean, but their trained stomachs could handle it. He paused, a flicker of emotion crossing his face. Beta sniffed the air. "Can you tell?" she asked. "That smell. A strong stench of death," she concluded, coming from that large building. With a new objective, they smashed through a window to gain entry. "All right," Cid said, "the smell is coming from this floor." It appeared to be an old hospital. Beta asked what a hospital was. Cid explained it was like a giant version of a clinic, for despite their advanced technology, the people of Japan never developed magical healing arts. He stared down the hallway with a serious expression. On the floor, he saw it. Blood? It led to a specific room. Beta suggested they follow it. Cid agreed, adding that this could be the clue they needed to get back to their world. They burst through the door. Inside, they found a gruesome scene. 3 bloodied corpses. "The smell of death came from here," Cid stated. "Fresh corpses." He didn't like this. Beta examined one of the bodies with a slime-covered hand. Judging from the state of decay, they died about 5 days ago. Cid inspected another body. 1 female, 2 males. He noted, something's not right. He stood up, realizing the implication. These people were alive up until 5 days ago. This could mean, Beta added, that there are still survivors nearby. But what, she wondered, could have reduced them to such a horrific state? Suddenly, Cid's expression sharpened. "Brace yourself, Beta," he warned. "Something is coming." A massive, shadowy beast smashed through the wall behind them. Beta, unfazed, launched herself into the air. She brought her leg down in a powerful axe kick. The blow connected, shattering the monster's head and splattering its black blood everywhere. But the threat wasn't over. Another beast lunged at Cid. He dodged effortlessly. With a single, casual punch, he sent the monster flying into a wall, where it exploded. More beasts began to emerge from the darkness. Cid drew his slime sword. He unleashed a flurry of strikes, his blade a blur of motion. The beasts growled and swarmed. This place, could it be the beast's nest? Cid pondered. It seemed so. Beta agreed. They hadn't seen any creatures outside during the day, so they must be nocturnal. "I see now," Beta said, striking down another monster. "These are the things that massacred those people. But," she continued with a confident smile, "to people like them, they're too weak," Cid finished, effortlessly slicing another beast in 2. "Far too weak," Beta echoed, her own strike landing true. The monsters were utterly annihilated. The 2 of them stood back to back amidst the carnage. No matter how many of them there were, they would be no match for them. Beta began to analyze the situation. These monsters were similar to some found in Oriana, though a little smaller. But she thought she understood now. She turned to her master. "These are the worthless pigs you were referring to, aren't they, Lord Shadow?" Cid had to correct her misunderstanding once again. "Not exactly. Those pigs are far weaker than these monsters, and they enjoy getting hurt." Beta could only pity such pathetic creatures. Suddenly, her pointed ear twitched. There were signs of life from the floor below. From the sounds of the footsteps, she'd say 3 people. Cid confirmed. Beta asked if they should attempt to make contact. Cid paused, considering. "No," he decided, with a knowing smirk. "Let us withdraw for now." He had an idea. They would act according to the circumstances, ensuring the coolest possible entrance. On the floor below, a new group of 3 arrived. One of them, Akane Nishino, confirmed this was the place where 3 of their own came to explore and disappeared. Her companion noted that demons had been seen coming from here. Akane's expression was grim but determined. It didn't matter. The chances of their friends still being alive might be low, but even if there was a slight chance, she would find them. Her other companion, a girl with reddish-brown hair, asked if it was okay to just leave without saying anything. Akane stood resolute, clutching her katana. She felt a surge of guilt and frustration. They could have come and saved them sooner. Doing anything else was the same as abandoning them. The other girl reminded her of the argument about the investigation and how they didn't have enough knights. Akane retorted that it was still no reason to leave someone to their fate. The male companion offered his support. It was okay, he said. They all agreed with her and were glad to come. Besides, they felt stronger just having Akane-san with them. Akane was touched by their words. She refocused on the mission. They had heard loud noises from the floor above earlier. They would head there first to check, but everyone needed to stay sharp. As they moved, something dripped onto the young man's cheek. Huh? He wondered, wiping it away. A pipe leak? He looked up and saw it. The dark, hulking form of a monster, its black saliva dripping down. He screamed. Monsters were everywhere. They were behind them, too. Akane shouted orders, telling her people to stay calm, get their backs to the wall, and stand firm. She drew her blade, magic crackling around it. Ha! She yelled, unleashing a powerful swing to protect her friends.